This isn't The Quiet Place, although it seems like it this morning. Let's get into the top movies of the 2000s. Let's do it. Hey, welcome back to my channel. Now that I did the top horror movies of the 2000s, I figured we're going to do the top movies of the 2000s. And I got my trusty list here. I did some research, wrote down a ton of movies per year. I'm going to list all the movies off and then give my top three of that year. If you don't hear a movie that you like, there's some movies I did leave off because this video would be about an hour long if I listed all the movies. But these are the movies I really like, and then my top three. So in the year 2000, let's start off with 2000. We had Gladiator came out that year, Snatched, Memento, X-Men, the first X-Men movie, Castaway, Wilson, that came out that year, Meet the Parents, High Fidelity, Remember the Titans, Road Trip with Tom Green, Gone in 60 Seconds, The Perfect Storm, and The Patriot, which I consider The Patriot Roland Emmerich's best film, along with Independence Day and Universal Soldier. Yes, I said it. I would go I'm going to do an honorable mention for this one because I really like Memento. So Memento is my honorable mention for that year. Number 3 would be Snatch. Number 2 would be Gladiator. And number 1 would be The Patriot. I really, really like The Patriot, but I'm also a big war film buff. And I think that film's really well done. So The Patriot's number 1 of 2000. Let's go on to 2001. We had Jurassic Park 3, Enemy at the Gates, Training Day with Ethan Hawke and the great Denzel Washington, Blow with Johnny Depp and Penelope Cruz. We got our first Ocean's 11 movie, Swordfish, Black Hawk Down, American Pie 2, The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, Rockstar with Mark Wahlberg, and Super Troopers. Do you boys like Mexico? My number 3 movie that year, I'd give it to Training Day. I really do like that film. I haven't watched it in a while actually, but I'd give that to number 3 slot. Number 2, Black Hawk Down. Absolutely love that film. Ridley Scott made a fantastic war film. And number 1 would be The Lord of the Rings. I like the original Lord of the Rings trilogy by Peter Jackson. 2002, we had Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, which I just did a review for a couple weeks back. Minority Report with Tom Cruise, the first time he's worked with Steven Spielberg directing. Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. Catch Me If You Can with Leonardo DiCaprio and Tom Hanks. Panic Room. Men in Black 2. The Bourne Identity, the first Bourne film. Signs, which is my favorite M. Night film. Reign of Fire, which it's a shame that film doesn't get talked about enough. And We Were Soldiers, number 3. Number 3 is We Were Soldiers, I just gave it away. Number 2, Spider-Man. And number 1, again, Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. Let's move on to 2003. 2003, we had The Rundown, Elf, which has become a Christmas classic in a lot of homes. X-Men 2, Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, which is my least favorite of the trilogy. Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines. We got Kill Bill Volume 1, Bad Boys 2, the first Pirates of the Caribbean, which I know surprised a lot of people how good that movie was. And I like that movie a lot too. Master and Commander, The Far Side of the World. Bad Santa, Old School. Yes, Frank the Tank is dead. And American Wedding and Tears of the Sun with Bruce Willis. I would go number 3, Master and Commander. Number 2, Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl. I really, really love that film. And number 1, I'd go with Kill Bill, Volume 1. 2004 gave us the best Spider-Man movie, in my opinion, Spider-Man 2. The Incredibles. Collateral, with Tom Cruise playing the bad guy. Really great, by the way. Ocean's 12. Kill Bill Volume 2. Man on Fire with Denzel Washington, directed by Tony Scott. Dodgeball. Everybody loves that movie, right? It's not just me and my son. National Treasure. Meet the Fockers. The Bourne Supremacy, which I like that movie better than... I like The Bourne Identity, but Supremacy is better. The first Hellboy film, King Arthur, which I do like that film, but you gotta watch the unrated director's cut because it's a better version of that film. The Punisher with Thomas Jane, and Troy with Eric Bana, Orlando Bloom, and Brad Pitt. I really like that film as well. But I would go with number 3, Man on Fire. I really like that film. It's a really great R-rated action film with Denzel Washington, directed by Tony Scott. You also got Christopher Walken in there, who's always great. Number 2, Collateral. Number 1, Spider-Man 2. I love Spider-Man 2. Unapologetically my favorite Spider-Man movie. 2005 gave us Christopher Nolan's first Batman movie, Batman Begins. Star Wars Revenge of the Sith, which is the only prequel worth watching in my opinion. King Kong, Peter Jackson's 3-hour epic. War of the Worlds, which is a great update of that story. The 40-Year-Old Virgin, which gave us Steve Carell. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, A History of Violence, which is a really good David Cronenberg film. Wedding Crashers, Kingdom of Heaven, Red Eye, Lord of War, which is a really good Nicolas Cage performance, and Waiting. And I love Waiting because if you ever worked in a restaurant, you can relate to the people in waiting. You never mess with the people that handle your food, people. Remember that. Don't be addicted to people that handle your food, or you're going to get a hawker in your food. Remember that. I would go number 3, Kingdom of Heaven. The director's cut is better than the theatrical version. Just a little tip if you've never seen that film. You just need 3 hours to watch it, but the director's cut's way better. A History of Violence, number 2. I love that movie. It's been a while since I watched it, but I love that film. And number 1, Batman Begins, which is a really good reboot of the Batman franchise. We're on to 2006, and we had some really good films in 2006. We had Casino Royale, the new James Bond series with Daniel Craig. The Prestige, which was the film Christopher Nolan did after Batman Begins, and is a wonderful film with Christian Bale and Hugh Jackman, Michael Caine. The Departed came out that year. Superman Returns, Children of Men, Cars, which I like the first Cars movie. The sequels, not so much, but the first one's really good. Mission Impossible 3, which after Part 2, J.J. Abrams kind of reinvigorated the franchise with Part 3. I like Part 3 a lot. Philip Seymour Hoffman was great as the villain in that film. We got Pirates of the Caribbean 2, Dead Man's Chest. The Breakup with Jennifer Aniston and Vince Vaughn. I like that film. United 93, which is a very sobering movie to watch considering it commemorates the events that happened on 9/11. Inside Man with Denzel Washington and Clive Owen. Flags of Our Fathers, Clint Eastwood's war epic. Beer Fest. I love the Broken Lizard guys. That movie's hilarious. Crank with Jason Statham. 300. Miami Vice, which I know some people don't like that film, but I can watch that film and enjoy it. Running Scared with Paul Walker. I really like that film. Smoking Aces and the remake of The Poseidon. That was done by Wolfgang Peterson, which isn't as good as the original, but anything with Kurt Russell in it, I'll sit through. I would go number 3, Casino Royale. That's one of my favorite Bond films, and it was a great way to bring the franchise back. I would go number 2 with The Departed. I love that movie. And number 1, I would go with The Prestige. It's an awesome Christopher Nolan film. If you've never seen it, it's about 2 magicians that are competing against one another, who used to be business partners, had a falling out, and now they're trying to one-up each other. It's fantastic, and it has a great twist ending. If you get a chance and you've never seen it, I highly recommend checking that film out. 2007 gave us Death Sentence, James Wan movie with Kevin Bacon. Ratatouille, which I really like that film. I saw it in a drive-ins in California. My wife and I were living in California briefly for 3 months, and we went to see it in a drive-in. No Country for Old Men. Knocked Up. Ocean's 13, which was better than Ocean's 12. Superbad. Everybody loves Superbad, right? Transformers. We got the first Transformers movie. The Bourne Ultimatum, which I thought was the end of the Bourne series, but it's never truly over, is it? 3:10 to Yuma, which is a great Western. Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End. American Gangster. Zodiac, David Fincher's Zodiac, which I absolutely love that movie. To me, it's one of the perfect movies ever made. I truly believe that. Eastern Promises with Viggo Mortensen, the Eric Cronenberg film. Hot Fuzz, which I love Hot Fuzz. The movie's great. Shooter and The Kingdom. In 2007, I would go with Hot Fuzz at number 3. I love that movie that much. Number 2, I go No Country for Old Men. I really like that film. It's been a while since I've watched it, but I really love that film. And number 1, Zodiac. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I love that film. If you've never seen it, it's definitely worth checking out, but you need about 2 hours and 45 minutes to watch it. But it's definitely worth it, and I was obsessed with that movie for a long time. I watched it constantly. 2008 gave us Wall-E. Rich, I know that's my buddy Rich's favorite Pixar movie. We got the original Iron Man movie, which Jon Favreau knocked it out of the park by casting Robert Downey Jr. alone, solidified that movie. I mean, Robert Downey Jr. is Iron Man or Tony Stark, and I can't see anybody else ever playing that character, but I'm sure they'll reboot it eventually. And we got Christopher Nolan's epic The Dark Knight that summer. My God, what was that? Whew. We got Iron Man and Dark Knight in the same summer. Boy, were we lucky that year. Wanted with Angelina Jolie and James McAvoy. Step Brothers. Boats and Hose, people. Boats and Hose. Tropic Thunder. What do you mean, you people? Gran Torino, Clint Eastwood's movie. The Incredible Hulk with Ed Norton, which I really like and does not get mentioned enough in the annals of talked about comic book films. I think it's a really well done film and it's fun. Is it as good as like the Avengers Endgame or Avengers Infinity War or Captain America Winter Soldier? No, but it's a good comic book film. I always enjoyed that film. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I'm mentioning it here. That is definitely not my favorite Indiana Jones film. And there's way too much CGI. We can go on and on about the problems with that film, but it's still okay. It's an okay film. Forgetting Sarah Marshall, I really like that movie. Rambo was brought back to us in 2007, or 2008, sorry, which I really like that one. Hellboy 2. Valkyrie, which I really like. Even though you know how the movie's going to end, it's a really good thriller. In Bruges with Colin Farrell. Body of Lies, Burn After Reading, which I absolutely love with John Malkovich, Brad Pitt, George Clooney. Role Models, which I've always liked that film. I always get a kick out of watching that with Sean William Scott and Paul Rudd. And Taken, that gave us the first Taken film. I will find you and I will kill you. Number 3 that year, I'll go with Valkyrie. I really do like that movie. Whatever you may think of Bryan Singer, and I have my opinions, but I'm not going to state them here. That film is a really well done thriller, and Tom Cruise gives a really good performance, and all the actors in the movie are awesome. Number 2, I go with Iron Man. Really, really good movie, and I sometimes think people forget what you have now at Marvel wouldn't have existed if Iron Man wouldn't have worked. Iron Man is the film that brought us everything else that came after it, and it was a really good kickoff story, especially since they used a character that not a lot of people knew who it was. So yeah, Iron Man's number 2. And of course, I'm going to go with The Dark Knight, number 1. I love Dark Knight. That summer it came out, I saw that movie 14 times in the movie theaters. I just kept going back and back to see it again and again. And I still love that film. I know it's popular to hate on that movie now, but I don't care. I love that film. 2009 gave us Avatar, which was the number 1 grossing movie of all time until Avengers Endgame beat it. The reboot of Star Trek came out that year, which I really liked that reboot by J.J. Abrams. Watchmen came out that year with Zack Snyder giving us that. Inglourious Bastards by Quentin Tarantino. Couples Retreat. Always liked that film. My wife and I get a kick out of that with Vince Vaughn and Jon Favreau. The Hangover came out that summer. Love that film. Sherlock Holmes. Public Enemies with Johnny Depp. Love that movie. District 9. Law Abiding Citizen. I Love You, Man. The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3. And a movie I have a soft spot for that doesn't get talked a whole lot about, Gamer with Gerard Butler. That year, I would go number 3, The Hangover. I love that original movie. The sequels are not that good, as we all know if you've seen them. But that first movie is still really, really funny. Number 2, I would go with Public Enemies. I saw it twice that summer in the theaters, and I've always liked that movie. I have it on Blu-ray. And number 1, I would go with Inglourious Bastards. I absolutely love that Tarantino film. The cast is excellent, and I just love that film. That's it for the 2000s. I'm going to go back and do the 90s horror and best movies. I'm going to do the 80s too. I'm going to do the decades I was alive in. I'm going to do the 70s, 80s, and 90s yet. I think it's fun to look back and see what years things were released, what some of the favorite movies are. It's just like a little time capsule looking back at it. And but that's it for this video. Let me know what your favorite movies of the 2000s are. Is there any movies that I left off that you like as well? Leave a comment down below. Let me know. Hit the thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button. All that good stuff. And I will be back soon. Have a great day. See you next time. Bye.